Now then, let's have a look at today's newspapers as well on the programme. Alison Sargent's joining us here on set for that. You're starting here in France with what we started the bulletin with, actually, that rather strong statement from Emmanuel Macron. He wants to piss off the unvaccinated.
He made that incendiary statement in an interview with Le Parisien. The paper calls it a declaration of war on anti-vaxxers. Macron also addressed three other topics in this interview: Europe, economic reforms, and the upcoming election, although he still did not formally announce that he's running. Now, Macron's statement about pissing off the unvaccinated, obviously the one that is getting all of the headlines. The Courrier International has rounded up some reactions from the foreign press. Italian paper Il Tempo asks if Macron has lost his mind, while The Guardian sees this as a political calculation, since the majority of people in France, the paper points out, are fed up with the pandemic and support requiring a vaccine pass. Now, that debate over the vaccine pass has turned into a mainly political battle, according to Le Figaro. Macron's statement only added fuel to the fire in the National Assembly yesterday. Lawmakers suspended their debate at around 2 a.m., and you can expect a lot of tension when they start it up again later today.
And in fact, political tension is a real theme in the papers today. Many have started marking the anniversary of last year's storming of the US Capitol.
The anniversary is tomorrow, January 6th, but many papers, like here in France, Libération, are already marking the occasion. Their headline here: 1 year after the Capitol, democracy is in peril in the United States. Libération writes that January 6th was just a trial run for Trump conservatives. In the years since then, the paper points out, Republicans have been multiplying their anti-democratic tactics, like financing far-right militias and passing a variety of laws that make it easier to control the outcome of the vote in key states. Meanwhile, Ann Telnis of The Washington Post reminds us that while numerous Trump supporters have faced charges for storming the Capitol, those who encouraged them have gone unpunished. She draws them all here in what she calls the insurrectionists' roll call. They include, of course, Donald Trump himself, but also Republican senators like Ted Cruz, who tried to block the vote certification in Congress last year.
And what about early reaction from conservative papers, though?
Well, Stuart, they seem to sort of wish that they could skip this anniversary altogether. The Wall Street Journal writes in their editorial that the main goal of Democrats seems to be to use the memory of January 6th against Republicans. Instead of their, quote, righteous anger, the paper calls on Congress to fix the Electoral Count Act, which is the ambiguous law that made Trump supporters think that Congress had the power to overturn those election results. According to the Wall Street Journal, that law risks causing more problems down the line. Meanwhile, Donald Trump had planned to hold a press conference on January 6th to mark that anniversary. As we read in Politico, though, he has decided to cancel it, much to the relief of Republican senators who were really worried about getting pulled back into that debate over his false election claims.
Let's go back to the topic of vaccines for this next story. The tennis star Novak Djokovic being granted a medical exemption from the Australian Open's vaccine requirements.
This has prompted outrage in Australia. We can take a look at the Courier Mail, their front page here. You must be joking. Joking, of course, written with a D, like Djokovic. All players at the Australian Open must either be fully vaccinated or get a medical exemption to avoid a 14-day quarantine. The paper explains that Djokovic actually hasn't said whether or not he's vaccinated. He's been a bit vague, but he has made it pretty clear that he's against vaccination. It also has not been made public why he was granted this medical exemption, other than the fact, we presume, that he is one of tennis's biggest stars. Djokovic may be exempt from the tournament's vaccine requirements, but he will not be exempt from the fury of Australians. That is according to a writer for Australian paper The Age. He says Novak Djokovic can expect long, loud, and sustained boos of disgust. This writer points out that Novak Djokovic has never been a crowd favorite, and for many papers, his stance on vaccines only solidifies his status as the villain of the tennis world.
Let's try and wash away those bad feelings, shall we? Alison's got two final stories for us, both about looking for love using, what else? Billboards.
Of course, that's how I would look for love.
Exactly.
So just put up a billboard. Both of these stories are in the Times today. The first is a billboard put up in Times Square in New York, ideal location for a billboard. It was put up by a 30-year-old woman's mother. She asks passersby to please date my daughter. You see the two of them in that image there. There is a sad side to this story, which is that the mother has breast cancer, and she says that she really wants to be reassured that her daughter is going to be in good hands. It has to be said, like, it's sweet. It's a lovely gesture, and her daughter has happily accepted the help from her mom. The next billboard is from a 29-year-old man in the UK who does not want any help from his parents. Mohammed Malik says he put up billboards in Birmingham in order to avoid an arranged marriage. I think maybe the two of them could decide to get together, but one of them would have to be willing to relocate.
I was going to say, it's a lot of flights otherwise and PCR tests. Perhaps they should wait a little while if they are going to. Alison, thanks very much.